a nice weekend, brothers and sisters. We are in the era of unity. This month, of course, next week, African Union and the Caribbean community will have a summit. It's our hope that this first time in history, Africa and the Caribbean to sit on the same table to discuss unity, trade, free movement of people and goods, cultural exchange, education, and the power will bring positive result to the people of Africa and African descent. As I said, brothers and sisters, we are expecting much from this summit, historical summit, that will be held in Addis, Ethiopia, from this weekend. So we hope our leaders will come up with strategy to undo the Berlin Conference. Because if you discuss the trade, unity, free movement of people, cultural exchange, you are talking about undoing the Berlin Conference. Right now, it is difficult for Africans in the continent and Africans in the Caribbean to do business, to move from one place to another. Why? It's because of Berlin Conference. So in this video, we are going to discuss the outcomes and expectations of we Africans from this summit. So brothers and sisters, if you have something to share with us, please do so through the comment section. Share your thoughts, ideas on how we can integrate Africans or African continent and Caribbean. So this is what we want. The time is now for Africa to come together. So before moving too far, brothers and sisters, let me share the previous first African Union Caribbean Summit, just for hints for you to understand what we were discussing at that time. Of course, that time was the time of COVID, so it was held virtually. But this time, African leaders will sit down with their brothers and sisters in the Caribbean on the same table to undo the Berlin Conference. The question is, are they ready to undo the Berlin Conference? I'm waiting to hear from you. You're welcome.
Under the second segment, and thereafter we will move to our third segment, where I will invite other heads of state and government present to provide their input in the plenary session. This session will be followed by our fourth segment, which will have statements from heads of regional and international organizations, and this will draw our deliberations to a close, upon which the Kenyan Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs will present the key outcomes of our deliberations and close the summit. So, Excellencies, let me proceed now and make my opening statement. Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, Your Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellency Dr. Carla Natalie Barnett, Secretary General of Caricom, Your Excellency George Rebelo Pinto, Secretary General of the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, ladies and gentlemen, it was with great pleasure that I welcome you to this first Africa Caricom Summit, and I'm very pleased that we have opted to hold the summit virtually rather than postponing it for yet another year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Kenya is indeed grateful and feels honored to host this inaugural summit of what I believe is the first of many such summits to follow in the future in our efforts to strengthen the cords of unity of the African peoples across the world. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, between the 16th and the 19th century, 10 to 12 million enslaved Africans were transported across the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas and the Caribbean. United by our heritage as one people of African descent, we meet today to start working together to confront the common challenges that face us, to strengthen the historical and cultural ties that bind us, and to build social, economic, and political linkages that will promote shared prosperity and social progress for us all. As we begin this journey, I would like to invoke the words of Martin Luther King Jr. And I quote, "We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools." End of quote. African and Caribbean cultural and political ties run deep based on our shared history, culture, as well as a sense of our common identity. Our common historical experience of slavery and colonialization inspired Africa's founding fathers to form the Pan-African movement in the 1900s. This movement was championed by the Africans in the diaspora, which established the foundations of a rich and vibrant African-Caribbean relationship. So today, let us come together and seize the moment to harness the tremendous potential of this unique relationship into a powerful social, economic, cultural, and political force. Allow me, Your Excellencies, to outline a few areas where we can work together to achieve this goal. I do believe that the first area is the blue economy. Both Africa and the Caribbean regions are blessed with enormous resources in the blue economy. The African continent has 38 coastal states and island states, and a coastline of well over 47,000 kilometers. All members of states of Caricom, they enjoy access to approximately 1 million square miles of the Caribbean Sea. This presents enormous opportunities to strengthen and foster innovative partnerships across the two regions to sustainably exploit and harness the potential of the blue economy. Excellencies, sustainable exploitation of these resources will no doubt boost economic prosperity, expand creation of decent jobs, and strengthen food security in our two regions. The second area, Excellencies, is climate change. Climate change remains an existential threat to all of us. In Africa, extreme swings in temperatures and rainfall patterns have, for instance, significantly increased habitat sustainability for biting insects and the transmission of vector-borne diseases such as dengue fever, malaria, as well as yellow fever. An estimated 94% of global malaria deaths occur in Africa, an epidemic that often occurs after periods of unusually heavy rain. The warming up of our continent is allowing malaria-carrying mosquitoes to survive, these days at much higher altitudes. Similarly, in the Caribbean region, climate extremes in the last few decades have had devastating impacts on economies and livelihoods and have led to the rise in sea levels and increased ocean acidification. Your Excellencies, it is imperative that together we incorporate climate action into our national policies and long-term development plans and adopt global best practices to mitigate and adapt to the threats posed by climate change.
Yes, brothers and sisters, let me pause a little bit in that area. So you heard that was the remark made by the former president of Kenya, Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, who was chair of the summit at that time. As I said, that summit was held virtually due to pandemic at that time. It was 2021 when the first African Union Caribbean Community Summit held virtually due to COVID-19. So this year, not just this year, this week or this weekend, African leaders and Caribbean leaders will sit on a single table to discuss partnership, business, trade, free movement of people, cultural exchange, education, and of course to undo the Berlin Conference. So will it bring real change for Africans and Caribbeans? That's the question that we're asking. Because as you heard many times, that when we meet, we say we were colonized, we were maybe we have been taken into slavery, but those things does not change the reality that we need to do something as Africans. We need to come together. The question that Africans right now, especially we, the current generation, we're asking, what things make Africans not coming together? When we see others, for instance, I was listening, the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Momote, he said that when we speak of India, we speak of in excess of over 800 ethnicities, but we speak of one country, India. When we speak of China, we speak of over 250 ethnicities, but we speak of one country, China. If we speak to, if we look, if we are to look within Africa itself, within Nigeria, you are speaking about over 300 ethnicities, even though most people only know the first four. When we speak of Ethiopia, the same applies. So what is it that stops us from claiming the global diaspora and acting accordingly? In the same way the Indians, Chinese have done. Those are words of Miamo Motre, the Prime Minister of Barbados. So you can see others are coming together. If you talk about Indians, they bring back the diaspora. But when you come to Africa, we don't see our brothers and sisters in the diaspora like our relatives. And I'm very happy, and I want to tell you, brothers and sisters, that the brave leader of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traore, has invited African diaspora and has given new homes. And this, if you didn't know this, I'm telling you this time that Captain Traore has invited African diaspora and has given them a new home. If you are in the diaspora, you want to come back home, Burkina Faso is open. Because it doesn't make sense that we Africans, we are building other countries, we are building other civilizations, other continents, while our continent starve, our continent is struggling, people remain poor. We have capacities in the diaspora. We have capacities in US, in Europe, in Caribbean countries. Why we don't bring them back home? Let me ask you, how many Africans are investing in gold in the continent of Africa? When I'm talking about gold, investing in gold, that we Africans, we extract those resources, gold, then we process it. I'm not talking about Africans maybe digging into the ground, going underground, and then getting gold, then sell to Europeans or Chinese. We want Africans to extract those minerals and to process those minerals. That's what we are talking about. And those things can be happen if we can bring back our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. Many of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora are the ones who are doing all these things in Europe, in America, and everywhere. So, but because sometimes we have something we call self-hate, because of self-hate, because of we don't see each other as brothers and sisters, we don't see the importance of bringing them together. Africa is a huge continent. Recently, you heard the story of African Union claiming that there's a need for the change of the size of the map of the African continent, the world map. The size that was put in the world map of Africa is not the true size. Africa is bigger, but Africa was put like a small Greenland. But in truth, Africa is bigger. If Africa is bigger, why don't we bring back our brothers and sisters in the diaspora? So, brothers and sisters, let us move on. Now we are going to hear from other leader. Let us go and listen from President Paul Kagame, who also attended that summit.
Brothers and sisters, let me begin by congratulating you, my brother, friend, President Uhuru Kenyatta, for spearheading this effort together with the Caribbean leaders. Establishing a permanent forum for dialogue between the African and Caribbean regions is not only welcome, but is also overdue. We are united by ties of history and shared experience. We also confront common challenges, such as trade inequalities, vulnerability to climate change, and the need for more resilient health systems. Our regions also have special requirements for adequate fiscal space to finance pandemic recovery. It is therefore the right moment to deepen the direct ties between our regional organizations and, just as importantly, our peoples. Where we are aligned, we should not hesitate to consult each other and make common cause in multilateral forums. On the horizon, we have COP26 in Scotland in November, and for many of us, the Commonwealth Heads of State and Government meeting in Rwanda in 2022. We are also all members of the new Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, or ACPS. The formation of this group, in a sense, really reminded us of the value of bringing our regions closer together for the benefit of our economies and our people. Africa and the Caribbean have a lot to offer one another in the spirit of South-South cooperation, learning from each other's experiences. I look forward to deeper and more frequent interactions in the years ahead by institutionalizing the structures of collaboration between the African Union and the Caribbean community. I thank you for your kind attention and wish all the best to all participants.
Yes, welcome again, brothers and sisters. That was President Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, who also participated at the first Africa-Caribbean Summit. Of course, President Kagame, he said that he's looking to see more collaboration, and of course, Kagame wish to see that we institutionalize our ties. I think you understand when he say we institutionalizing of our ties, because we cannot just speaking without creating organs that will bring us together. I think that's what President Kagame is looking for. But all in all, in the coming summit, there's something that you have to understand, that leaders in Sahel, I'm talking about President Traore, I'm talking about President Chani Goita, also from Guinea, Mamadou Mbuya will not be in this summit. You may ask why. The answer is, it's because of unconstitutional changes of governance that was made in Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Guinea. So these leaders will not attend the summit, or this summit, African Union and Caricom or Caribbean Community Summit in Addis this weekend. So the reason is that one, that African Union said there was unconstitutional changes in these countries, so they were suspended temporarily. But if it's true, African Union, like a mother, like a parent, want to bring together her children, these leaders have to be there because we expect if these leaders, they have something to contribute toward a united Africa, toward the process of undoing the Berlin Conference. So I'm sharing this for you to understand that if you don't see President Traore, if you don't see President Chiani or President Goita, don't be shocked. Those leaders will not be there because of African Union rules of unconstitutional changes. But if I was, or maybe if African Union maybe Commission have to invite these visionary leaders. Yes, sometimes we can put the law or rules, maybe that sometimes expire according to the time. But what happened to Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, all of us, we are acknowledging that that was not military coup, that was revolutions. So if all of us, many Africans, are acknowledging that what happening to Sahel military revolutions. So I think African Union has to hear and to listen. The majority who have, if it's true that they're talking about democracy, majority of Africans are saying what happened to Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Guinea, just revolution, not military coup. So, but because of the laws and to set, sometimes we said something that sometimes blocking us, let us live as it is. But all in all, brothers and sisters, let us move on next speaker, on the last or the first African Union Caribbean Summit. We are going to hear President Chakwera. I think you know Chakwera, when he came to power, it looks like he really Pan-Africanist, but as time went, it looks like it changed. But we expect more from President Chakwera, the president of Malawi. Let us listen what contributed at that time, the first Africa Caribbean Summit. Here is President Chakwera.
In doing so is all but guaranteed because our nations and regions have a kinship so naturally rooted in the rich soils of shared values, histories, cultures, and struggles to make it the best foundation for our cooperation henceforth. Deepening our integration is no longer a luxury, but a necessity whose time has come. Our world is facing numerous challenges, the ravages of poverty, climate change, and COVID-19 being chief among them, exacerbated by inequalities of access to their solutions. Such global crises demand the consolidated perspective of our regions. We need to stand together to ensure solutions to global challenges, protect our people's dignity, and promote our shared interests, such as our desire to see greater economic trade and investment between Africa and the Caricom member states. By standing together, as we did today, we make it clear that we are neither small nor helpless. SADC alone is a region of over 350 million peoples and 16 states with deepening regional bonds forged from our shared conviction that our strength lies in our numbers and our unity. As a result, we have developed the SADC Vision 2050 as a complementary blueprint to the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals and the African Union's AU Agenda 2063. We therefore embrace and celebrate this first Africa Caricom Summit as another milestone towards the creation of a grand coalition of like-minded and like-mannered nations. Beyond embracing and celebrating it, We fully intend to leverage the opportunities for partnership that it avails for the meaningful improvement of the lives of our citizens. Towards that end, we seek to build on already existing engagements between some SADC member states and Caribbean member states to increase investment, collaboration, trade, learning, and exchange between the two regions. By standing together like this, as we move forward, we will make it clear that no challenge before us is insurmountable. And truth be told, for all of us here, standing together like this is not a matter of fashion, but survival. To paraphrase what President Seretse Khama, one of the founders of SADC, said in 1980, we must move together or we perish. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, dear brother, for that statement. And I now will give the...
Yes, that is President Chakwera, the president of Malawi, also he contributed. Of course, President Chakwera at that time said that we need to together African Union and Caribbean community to achieve the Agenda 2063. Of course, one thing that I doubt to many Africans, yes, we are talking about Agenda 2063, but how many Africans know Agenda 2063? What is within Agenda 2063? What I see, according to my opinions, that these things always remain in the shelves, in the hands of politicians, instead of taking these things into the hands of people. Today, if you go out there and ask, try, do your own research, try to ask people, what is within the Agenda 2063? Many of them don't understand. It's almost maybe we who are on social media are twisted. But if you go on the ground, I'm talking about on the ground, and are we preparing our children? Today, a child who has born maybe today, 2025, by the year 2063, it will be maybe more than, let me calculate here, almost that something. It will be, he or she will have started something years, you see? So are we preparing curriculums or education system for these young people who will be there, who will be held at that time, to know what is within African Union, Agenda 20, African Union, Agenda 2063? Oh, we are just speaking, we can say we want to achieve Agenda 2063, but do we have mechanism for our people to understand what they need to do by the year 2063? Oh, it's just in the hands of leaders. Of course, I think if we are serious, we want changes. And if the thing that I think this summit has to work the most is the issue of education. We need to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. We need to revolutionize our education systems. Because today we are talking about Agenda 2063, we are talking about continental free trade areas. Our children, our students learn or they lead or understand these issues or these issues. So for me, I think we need to revolutionize our curriculums. We need to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, because without putting these things into education systems, we are going to have people or children who do not understand these things. Yes, it's a good plan. We have planned very well, but we need the people, especially children, to know this, because by the year 2063, these young people will be grown up. So they need to learn from the schools. Today we are talking about integration. The people in Guinea, do they know that there's a need for them to work with the people in Democratic Republic of Congo? The people in Algeria, are they ready and being taught that you have to work with the people in Uganda, in Tanzania there? Those are things that we need, I think, to work for. One thing that is very important for the summit is the issue of revolutionizing our education. Those are just my opinions, but you can add more if you think there's a need for we Africans to change. Because having a summit and discussing politicians coming together, discussing the issues, doesn't make sense. What we need to see is that impact of the summit, that we are going to trade together, we are going to unite, we are going to do that and this. At what time? Those are what we are asking. So, brothers and sisters, let us now move to the next speaker. Of course, we are going to hear from Caribbean. So, welcome.
I'm truly honored to address this historic inaugural Africa Caricom Summit, a timely dialogue which can only strengthen our fraternal bonds. The common historical experiences between Africa and the Caribbean have been enriched by cultural, economic, and political affinities. Potential untapped for centuries lies within our respective reaches as we not only develop national capacities, but engage opportunities for cooperation with each other and across continents and oceans. The challenges of the last year and a half have reinforced the possibilities and value of the Africa-CARICOM relationship. Most critically, Jamaica and the Caribbean region benefited greatly from the African Union's provision of access to COVID-19 vaccines and other critical medical supplies through the innovative AMSP, which has been a game changer for the continent and for us. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area is another, creating an enabling environment for the flow of investment and tourism. For Jamaica, there is potential in the agro, industry, and logistics sector. And Jamaican companies have already invested in Africa. Opportunities also exist for scientific research and collaboration, investment in healthcare, technological innovation, and digitization, as well as in the creative economy. In relation to development financing, debt sustainability, and climate change, our cooperation within the OA, CPS, Commonwealth, UN, and WTO remains a strong foundation for deepening integration between us. We must also use all available platforms for securing meaningful outcomes from COP26. Prior to the pandemic, we were pleased to have the exchange of visits with African leaders, and we had planned for more. Jamaica was also pleased to receive the first non-stop flight from Lagos last December. There are indeed real prospects for exchanges in sports, culture, education, tourism, and commerce between our regions to improve economic benefits and enhance people-to-people connections. This would narrow the geospatial and psychological separation, reclaim our historical connections, and celebrate ourselves as members of the African diaspora. Colleagues, this summit is the fulfillment of the vision of Kagame, Mandela, Nkrumah, Nyerere, and other Pan-Africanists who spoke of the manifest potential and greatness to be achieved from unified engagement. Let us strive to fulfill their dreams and ours, to unleash the full potential of the African continent and the African diaspora in the Caricom region.
Thank you very much, dear brother, Prime Minister Holness, for that statement.
Yes, that's the Prime Minister of Jamaica. Of course, his remark was fantastic. I was interested when he said the issue of fulfillment of the dreams of our founding fathers, Marcus Garvey, Kwame Nkrumah, Nelson Olise Mandela, Julius Kambarage Nyerere, and others, the issue of unifying Africa. Of course, for many years, we have been calling a unity of this continent. The problem that we have is political wills. Africans, all African leaders, many of them have no political will to unite this continent. And one day I was listening, Excellence, Dr. Kana Chiombori Kwao. She spoke in one thing that was shocking me, that within African heads of state, there's some leaders who are in the payroll of Western agencies, and they're being paid to make sure that Africa is not going to be united. You see, those are not my words. And I can believe what Dr. Kana Chombol Kwao she said, because remember that Dr. Kana Chombol Kwao was the leader or was an ambassador of African Union to the United States of America. So she knows many things within Africa and African Union as a continental body. You see? So he said openly that within African leaders or African continent, there are some leaders who are in the payroll of Western agencies, and they're being paid to make sure that Africa is not going to be united. So at this time when we are trying to work hard to make sure that we bring together Africa, do you see that we are going to achieve, or we are going to have those leaders who also will sabotage and will try to stop Africans from uniting? So those are just something that we need also to discuss. We can discuss good things, but within ourselves, we have people who are making sure that we're not going to achieve. Because even Nyerere, Kwame Nkrumah, and Mandela, they failed to unite this continent. Why? Because of betrayal. When Gaddafi came in, he tried to do his best, but what next to Gaddafi? Also, Gaddafi was betrayed by fellow leaders, African leaders, failed to protect Gaddafi. Gaddafi, who came with the same idea of our founding fathers. So, brothers and sisters, I think if there's a time for Africans to come together, to unite, and to keep things aside, is this time. And we need to be open, and we need to be realistic on what we want. But as I said, within ourselves, we are betraying each other because we have no shortage of betrayers. Of course, also spoken the issue of direct flights. And of course, this is the thing that we have been talking many times, that we need a direct flight from Caribbean to Africa. Right now, if you want to go to Caribbean, you have to go to Europe first. You go to Europe, then you go to Caribbean. There's no direct flight from Africa to Caribbean. But if we can establish, if we are talking about connectivity, we are talking about uniting, let us establish a direct flight from Africa, Caribbean. It is possible. It is possible. So let us now move to the next speaker who also participated at that time. Now we are going to hear from, also from Caribbean.
Prime Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I want to thank you and to recognize heads of state and government colleagues friends all. I want to associate myself with all of the exceptional recommendations that have been made in forging ahead our close collaboration and contact. This is an opportunity we've been yearning for a very long time. And I'm very happy to be part of this occasion where we can join hands with our brothers and sisters in Africa. There are common challenges which we have to work on, and these common challenges, it is for us to find common solutions to those challenges. And so the structure which has been proposed by my chairman, Comrade Gaston Brown, in formalizing this relationship, I believe it is something that we need to move with a matter of urgency. I want to recognize the leadership of His Excellency the President of Kenya, and also my colleague, friend, Mia Motley, for advancing this opportunity for us to be able to meet together. Dominica stands ready to play its part in a meaningful and tangible way in advancing this effort of greater collaboration between our nations. And I can say to you, Excellency, that here in the Caribbean, there is great excitement and anticipation for stronger ties, stronger collaboration, and increased contact between our peoples and among our peoples. So I really want to place on record my full support for this inaugural summit, and to urge that we move with speed with putting the infrastructure in place to allow this to be an annual event, not only of heads of government and heads of state, but for there to be this contact among our people, that our African brothers and sisters can visit us in the Caribbean, and of course we from the Caribbean can reciprocate that particular action. So I pray, God, that we will be successful in our efforts, because our people are looking for us to provide that leadership. Our people are looking for us to advance this collaborative effort, because they are convinced that we must find common solutions to our common challenges. We cannot look to others to do it. We have to do it for ourselves and by ourselves. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. And I now give the floor to His Excellency Dr. Philip Mpango, Vice President.
Yes, brothers and sisters, you heard from the Prime Minister of from Caribbean there. But all in all, spoken one thing that is very, very important to us, that this communication, this coming together should not be for leaders or political figures. It should be also for within people. So we need Africans in the continent to visit their brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. The same to those who are in Caribbean to come and visiting their brothers and sisters here in the continent of Africa. We want also, if you want to marry in Africa, you can come and find a good wife in Africa. And also the same to Africans, if you want to find good husband or good wife in Caribbean, we want those things to happen instead of maybe this being the issue of Africa leaders and Caribbean leaders. We want all community to communicate. And for Africans to start communicating, within the continent, first of all, we need to open these borders. This has become the syndicate and the problem of Africa, that right now we are talking about interacting with our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. Just imagine, Rwanda and Congo is a neighboring country, but these countries' leaders are not working together. People are not interacting. They see each other as enemies. And yet you want the same people to communicate with the people who are far from them in Caribbean. Is it possible? Is it possible? It is impossible. If you don't love your neighbor, how can you love someone who is far, a lot of kilometers from our continent? How is it possible that we Africans, we can love our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, while we Africans within the continent, we hate each other. First of all, we need to clean our housing. We need to make sure that we Africans, our house is clean. And we have been saying this to our leaders, political figures, that one thing that we need to do is open borders, allow free movement of people and goods. We have these regions. We have SADC, we have ECOWAS, we have East African Community, we have Sahel. Let us start regionally. Let us allow people within the region to move freely. Then we can say continentally we are free, can move. You know, it's like the way you see when you are keeping chicken. If you are keeping chickens or you are keeping goats, or you put the string in the neck or in the leg of the goat or the cow, that goat or cow cannot hit beyond the round of its string or its its string. So you limit people, and that's why today Africans are suffering with something we call unemployment opportunities. How can Africans become unemployed with all these resources that we have, with those potential that we have? It's because of these borders. We have borders that are keeping Africans like chickens, Africans like cattle. So Africans, we are not free to move from one place to another. And yet we come, our leaders, politicians telling us, you know, the history is showing us that these Ngoni came from South Africa, went through Zimbabwe, some left in Zimbabwe, some moved on to Zambia, and some went to Mozambique, and others to Tanzania. But all these are Ngons. But if you ask them, let us the Ngoni of Tanzania move free to meet with the Ngoni in Zambia. They ask for visas. For what? If these Ngoni move freely at that time without being asked for visas from South Africa to Zimbabwe to Zambia to Mozambique and Tanzania, no one asked them for visas. Why today, when they want to go back to see their relatives, you ask them for visas? Today, we are talking about African Union Caribbean Summit. We want brothers and sisters in the Caribbean to come back home. Why we ask them for visas? Why we know? And all of us, we acknowledge that these are our African brothers and sisters, African descents, whose ancestors taken from this continent, from West Africa, to go to the plantation in Caribbean. We acknowledge those things. And yet when they want to come back, we're asking them for visas. Are we serious as Africans? Are we serious? Do we speak what we believe in our hearts? Or we are just speaking to make something okay? So first of all, we need to take things into action, not just action. You know, right now I'm moving beyond of action. We don't want action. We want results on what we are saying. Because it doesn't make sense, we Africans here in the continent of Africa, I think this is happening also to our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. We say we want to bring back our brothers and sisters, while we within the continent, we are not in love with each other. We have seen what happened to Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso with ECOWAS. If ECOWAS cannot love Burkina Faso, if the neighboring country, Cote d'Ivoire, is working closely with France to destabilize Burkina Faso, how about our brothers and sisters who are far away in Caribbean? And how can you love them? And that's why I'm saying we need to clean our house first. We need to make sure that things is okay in our house, in our motherland, so that we can come. Otherwise, we have this summit, because this summit it doesn't started yesterday. Gavi, Nkrumah, and others started these things, but because of self-hate that we have in the continent of Africa or within Africans, that's why things is not happening. We don't see the results. People may say we have Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Let me ask you one thing: what do you offer in the in Africa Continental Free Trade Area? What are you going to offer? Do you have industries? Do you have infrastructures to connect from DRC to Central Africa? Do we have those infrastructures? Or we are just writing papers that we have this and we have that? And that's why I have been saying the issue of Agenda 2063, that we need to put these things into curriculum. And we need to have a unified curriculum, a single curriculum for the entire continent of Africa, so that the children in Mali can understand that when he grown up, he needs to do business with someone who is in South Africa. And those who are in South Africa, they need to change also to understand that those who are coming from Nigeria are not coming to take their jobs, are fellow Africans. Right now, if you're in Nigeria, you go to South Africa. The people in South Africa, fellow black people in South Africa, they see you as a threat. You are coming to take their jobs. Why? Because of self-hate. And this self-hate is inherited from one generation to another. So we need to clean first our house. We need to clean ourselves first. Then we will collaborate properly. Otherwise, we are going to have these summits. People are going to make money and leaders are going to collect a lot of money. Nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. So for something to happen, results to happen, we need to clean our house first. Those are just my opinions. So I'm waiting also to hear from you. Let us move on with the next speaker.
Of the United Republic of Tanzania. Vice President, you have the floor.
Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to begin by commending our host and dear brother, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, the President of the Republic of Kenya, for conceptualizing and crystallizing the idea of having this important Africa Caricom Summit. Allow me also to convey sincere apologies from Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of the United Republic of Tanzania, who wished to be part of this historic event, but due to other equally important national commitments, she had to delegate the tasks to me, and I feel honored for the opportunity. Excellencies, the drive to promote stronger ties between Africa and Caricom is underpinned by the fact that we share a common descent and desire to achieve faster, sustainable development and prosperity for our people, as well as respectable voice in shaping the conduct of global affairs for the benefit of all mankind. Since the reign of Tanzania's founding president, Julius Nyerere, South-South cooperation has remained a key tenet of our foreign policy. And examples of this stance include the hosting of the then Liberation Committee of the OAU and championing of trade and regional integration initiatives in the East African Community and SADC regions. This stemmed from a recognition that South-South cooperation is a means and a great opportunity for us not only to promote political solidarity, but also to marshal collective action against a common challenge or enemy. While we note the huge potential of cooperation between Africa and Caricom, we wish to underscore the importance of ensuring the unity of purpose. Tanzania's view is that we need first to agree to zero in on moving South-South cooperation to the next frontier, targeting to harness the blue economy resources, which we all share, scale up inter- and intra-Africa Caricom trade and investment, preferential market access, and how we can together benefit from technological advancement. Secondly, this forum ought to be an instrument to sharpen and bolster our voice in global negotiations on monetary, financial, trade, and environmental agenda, which have a huge bearing on our economic growth, development, and survival. In this regard, Tanzania fully supports the proposal to make the Africa Caricom Summit a standing annual event. We also underscore the importance of setting ourselves clear goals in relation to our immediate development priorities and to improving the management of global affairs. Excellencies, finally, this meeting is taking place at a time when we are all still faced with a devastating health and economic crisis. Despite the global nature of COVID-19 pandemic, the response to the crisis has seen countries in the South being severely affected, first owing to their relatively smaller capacity to respond, and secondly, by the vaccine nationalism witnessed in the developed world. It is therefore prudent and upon us, Africa and the Caribbean, to unite in our response and to amplify efforts for vaccines to be made available to those most in need in developing countries. Excellencies, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice President, for that statement. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, let me pause again a little bit here. So you heard from the Vice President of Tanzania. Of course, spoken very well on the issue of unity, unity of purpose. Of course, it touched the issue of health care, that, of course, the issue of vaccine at that time. You remember that these powerful nations during pandemic, they refused to supply vaccine to African nations, and they thought that Africa would be, of course, you understand, will not be there. So, but because Africans were strong, they was shocked that we are still here. So, and this is sending a clear message that if we think when hard time will come, we have uncles, we have brothers, we have sisters in Europe, in somewhere else, China, whatever, Russia, we are not serious with our lives. So it's you witnessed yourself during COVID pandemic that these countries refused to supply, even to sell vaccine to African nations because they are not interested with us. So the only way for Africans, black people to survive is to come together. So this unit is not for maybe for making wealth, is for surviving. So we want the unity of Africans here in the continent and to those who are in the diaspora for the survival. So if you think there's someone who will come to help you, I think during COVID you saw what happened. So brothers and sisters, when we tell our leaders that there's a need for we Africans to come together, to unite, they think that maybe we want to take power, we take them out from power, we want to, maybe to make them out of presidents. No, because some of them, they want to be the forever leaders. No, we want Africans to survive because we know that there's no other people who are interested with us. It's we Africans who are supposed to be interested with our lives. And that's why we are calling each other, let us unite, let us come together, because our unity is our salvation. And Nyerere once upon a time said that unity will not make us rich, but it will make us strong and difficult to be manipulated. That's the meaning of unity. And that's why we are asking for Africans to come together, Africans to unite. So, brothers and sisters, I don't want to speak many things, to speak for too long. It's almost, we have spoken for 1 hour. I think it is enough. People need to go to do other things, despite it's weekend. But all in all, we need to give opportunity to other Africans or Africans to do other activities out of being on social media. We want also to do other activities. So one thing that I want to say also, have been saying the issue of President Chaole, Assimi Goita, Dumbuya, and Blamanchan that will not participate in this summit. But also, I fear that even Mama Africa High Excellency Ambassador Dr. Alkana Chombo will not attend this summit because we know that she was expelled from African Union after exposing offense. So I think she has a ban. If I'm not wrong, she will not participate in the African Union this summit. Of course, we expected leaders like Chimboli, Professor Piero Lumumba to be among, and others. We have a lot of Pan-Africanists who love this continent, who have good ideas, who can share positive thing to undo the Berlin Conference. But I hope some of them will not be there, even Naponga will not there, and others. I think will not be there. But we hope the next time African Union, Caribbean community will find a way to find the way how they can gather these Pan-Africanists, these people who are much interested with the unity of this continent. I hope Malema will not be there. We expect Malema to be there, but Malema will not be there. So this is a pending issue. Of course, Malema is not the only who is speaking maybe about unity. We have many people who love this continent, not only those who have been mentioned, but these people are political figures. I mean, public figures like Chiomboli Kwao, Professor Lumumba, Professor James Small, also Joshua Maponga, and many others. If these public figures have to be invited in summit like such as this, they can contribute something. What we want is ideas. So what can we do? We find solutions right now. We know problems we have. We know the problems. But right now, what we seek is solutions. Then after that, we want people who can implement those solutions. So let us not speak for too long. As I said, this is the end of our live streaming today. So we continue to share good news from our motherland. Be prepared for the African Union Caribbean Community Summit. We'll be here. We'll share everything according the way we get those information. We will share. If it's about speeches, we'll share. If it's about events or other issues, we'll share. The aim is to bring Africans together. This is a place where we come together as Africans to share our thoughts, ideas, find the best solutions for our challenges. So up that, my dear lovely family, brothers and sisters, here in the continent and to you and the diaspora, we are going to end our live streaming. Thank you. Have a nice time.